I remember vividly, James, the conversation that led me to quit my job as a journalist. So I'd written my first book. I'd written American Icon, and which is about how Alan Mulally saved Ford Motor Company. And this guy called me up, and he said, "Hey, I read your book. It's fascinating. I'd like to take you out to breakfast." A lot of people called me up. I mean, the book was a bestseller. There's a lot of people calling me and asking me to come, talk to them or want to, tell me how much they like the book and stuff. And it was very flattering, but also you learn pretty quickly that, it's not the best strategy in the world to answer all those calls. So then I didn't respond to him. And then he kind of sent me another message and said, "I'm friends with Alan." And so I was like, okay, now you have my attention. So it turned out he ran Dale Carnegie. He had the Dale Carnegie franchise for Southeast Michigan. Amazing guy. And we met for breakfast, and he told me how much he liked the book and stuff. We started talking, and he looked across the table at me, and I still remember this. He said, "Why are you a journalist still?" I said, "Well, I mean, it's literally what I do for a living. So, I mean, it's a bit late for me to go and be a brain surgeon at this point or something like that." And he's like, he said, "I cannot think of a less profitable thing for you to be doing with your life than continuing to be a newspaper reporter." And I was like, "Well, appreciate that, but I knew that I wasn't going to make a fortune when I became a newspaper reporter in the first place." He's like, No, I don't mean profitable in terms of dollars in your pocket, though I do mean that too. He said, "I mean profitable for the world." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I've been listening to your stories and stuff." He says, "You have over the 20 years you've been a business journalist, you have been inside of hundreds of companies. You've sat with biggest business leaders in the world and some of the worst business leaders in the world. And you've seen what worked and what didn't work." He said, "That knowledge would benefit a lot of people, a lot of other businesses." And he said, you should quit your job and start working as a strategic advisor to companies." And I was like, why would anyone hire me? I've never run a company. And he said, "Yeah, but you've sat and learned from people who have run the biggest companies in the world, and you have so much to share with it." So that was kind of an epiphany for me, to realize that, yeah, I did pick up a lot from that. And a lot of that learning, by the way, then got distilled into Red Team Thinking and into my second book, and into my whole approach to decision making was distilled from what I learned from all those people.
I'm really sorry, because I know we were supposed to be talking about the top 50 moments. So I was like, I can't not go down that rabbit hole, because I was like, what must it have been like? Like the guy from Dale Carnegie's been saying, it must be super frustrating.
Ralph Nichols, by the way, was his surname. Ralph Nichols, great guy.
Ralph Nichols. Shout out to Ralph Nichols. Thanks for asking the question. Isn't it interesting how one question phrased in the right way at the right time by the right person can entirely change the direction of your life?
I quit my job that I had. I quit my career that I'd put over 20 years into, a few months later as a result of that conversation.
Wow. Did that just fester, that question? Did it hit the nerve straight away, or was it like kept dripping away?
Right away. I mean, like I didn't have an answer for him. I stared across the table and was like, "Well," and then I said, Ralph was an amazingly generous guy to me. And I said, I don't know how to do that. I know how to write stories. I know how to interview people. And he said, "Well, I have a company that does a whole training program on how to lead effectively and how to communicate effectively." And he said, "I'll comp you the entire course because I believe in what you have to share." And I was okay.
Wow.
And that's what I did.
Thank you for tuning in to The Thinking Leader. Check the show notes for more information about the topics covered in this episode. There, you'll also find a link to our free assessment. Click on it right now to find out if you are a Red Team thinker with a Red Team culture.